Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Happy New Year. I'm excited to kick off the new year on Heroes Always Welcome with my dear friends, my co-host, Enrique Acosta Gonzalez, and my very dear friend, Jose Belen. He's gonna tell me how I really pronounce that. Jose has been on the show many times. We started the show together, and he took a little sabbatical, his words. I'll let him talk about that. But we are back, and we are here to focus on veteran-centric businesses, stories, any way that we can help our veterans in our community. We love to give back, and we like to spotlight you because gotta have the civilians out there looking and seeing at the amazing things not only that you've done but that you're doing now. So, welcome, my friends. How are you today?
Outstanding.
Blessed to see another year in your faces. So happy to be here,
Amen.
gentlemen.
Good deal.
Amen to that. All right. So before we get rolling, obviously, Enrique, for those people who don't know you, give them a little 411 on your background.
All right. Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. Enrique Acosta Gonzalez, CEO of Triad Leadership Solutions here in Central Florida, Orlando proper. Just happy to be in this group and be able to host so many veterans that we have, unsung heroes, to come through our show. We're excited for it and excited to hear about Jose.
I'm excited. You know, Jose has an amazing story. We've been friends for a long time. It's been up and down for him. He can share part of that, but he's doing such great things in the world, and we are so happy to have you back here where you belong, Jose. Tell them a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Thank you both for being here. I am a U.S. Army combat veteran.
Ooh.
Did two tours. I was part of the initial invasion into Iraq in the spring of 2003 with 2-3 FA, 1st Armored Division. And I stand to represent, those who do come home from war. But unfortunately, we have a psychological battle we fight every day after leaving that battlefield. We lose over 8,000 veterans a year to suicide. So I'm an advocate at the highest level possible to help end veteran suicide, raise awareness of mental health, but also, to those that are on the ledge of life today to say, hey, hang on, we're here for you right now. Don't go
Amen.
anywhere. Yeah.
And you have been through, you were an insurance guy. This is the kind of stuff I remember.
Yeah.
But you have landed, tell us a little bit about your journey over the last year. I think it's important. Then I would love Enrique to come in because Enrique's fantastic with leadership and direction and, kind of helping give insight. God, I'm not a veteran and he helps me when I listen to him. That's when I listen to him. We should all listen. So tell us a little bit about your last year because it's been ups and downs and challenges like everyone, but it's different when you're also dealing with PTSD.
Correct. So, life can be turbulent at times, for many reasons. And those who have encountered trauma in their lifetime, that trauma does not go away overnight. And so learning to live with that trauma, coupling that with real life issues that, happen every day, really, lead you in a direction that if you're not centered right, could lead to self-destruction. And so, in the last year, I went through some, ups and downs, personally that, in life we have a choice. We can either give in to the pressure, give in to all those, things that are happening around us, or we can choose to stand firm, and fight on forward. And so the last year, I really had to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm not going back to alcohol. I'm very grateful to say that have won that fight so far. It's been over a year now. That while
Congratulations.
pressure is being turned up, at a pace that I hadn't seen before. The PTSD, right, is accelerating. On top of that, that said, I'm going to focus on healing the soul, right? We all wear these meat suits, these bodies, but Jose, the person, what is he going through? And so within that time, I was able to still maintain a focus on the community I love and that I represent, which is the veteran community, the Gold Star community, feeding off that energy that, be kind, So the last year I really took to take a step back, right, from larger scale projects and be a hero at home to my daughter, be a leader to her before anyone, you know, uh, focusing on my eating, all these little battles that we could win on a daily basis, but many of us, because of the pressures, just say to hell with it or to the heck with it. But over time, they beat us up. But in taking, the year to focus on what makes me happy outside of serving, right? Because a lot of my buddies are like, brother, like, we get it that you have a passion to help and make art and do these great things for people, but what about you? What does Jose like to do? And it was like, work out. I don't know, right? And that's dangerous if you're not in the right frame of mind to accept that you do absolutely nothing for yourself. There's no self-care in the 24-hour day. You have done this, and this, and that, but where is the time to center, to find, that person? And so this year has been kind of that journey for me, and learning to live sober and maintaining that sobriety is a battle that I shout out to anyone that can understand that, because I still have my nightmares every day. I still miss my buddies who died, in battle, at my buddies who, lost after service to suicide. I still carry all that, but to say I'd rather go shoot hoops with my daughter, you know what I'm saying? Go roller skating with her or do something fun. Go for a run, then pick up the bottle. Has been a lesson that I carry into 23, on top of just, being a selfless servant and being there for others and accepting help. That, you've always answered the call, you reach out, you check in. It's taught me the importance of checking in, so this year's been incredible.
I think
You know,
there's so many messages there. Go ahead, Enrique.
yeah, no, it's amazing, Jose. You mentioned three things that stand out immediately to me. You mentioned centered, right? Centered, being centered on something, your essence, the you that we so often neglect, and purpose, and those are three powerful things to have in your life. Um, and I wanted to ask you, now that you're finding you, because it's the hardest thing to do.
It
um,
really is.
where did you find the center? Because that's important. Yeah, just like a building, you have to have a foundation. You have to lay that right. So what led you to your center? And then yeah, just share some of that.
The family element is very important to me. I've been married to my wife, going on 9 years together, going on 12. We have a daughter who's 9. Stepson who's about to be 21. Been in his life since he's 8 years old. And PTSD and all the traumas, right, that we go through sometimes affect those that we love the most and who love us the most. And so when I was able to see the impact that it had on my family, I believe so much in leadership, because I had to see leadership and become a leader in a very horrible place called the war zone. But I saw what a leader was. And my daughter, during my struggles, said, "Daddy, why aren't you painting anymore? You look sad a lot. I haven't seen you paint in a long time." And, I was like, when she said that to me, it's like my friends check in on me, your family, but when your child can see that something's wrong and you're their leader, you're the alpha, you know, uh, that you got to get your stuff together, man.
Yeah.
And at all costs, right here, right now. And that conversation with her, amongst other things, but always judged my leaders very harshly. Righteously so. It's conflict. You have to abide by the laws of leadership. But when I myself said, brother, you're not being a leader, man. When you can check yourself, right, and say, hey, we can win this. It will take time because she deserves it. Because your wife deserves it. Because your friends who count on you deserve it. Your friends who have stopped their lives to keep you alive deserve to see the best version of you because they're rooting for you. And that's what really led me to the center.
You could tell there was a difference. Um, there was definitely a change, a shift. I don't know exactly what time this past year it was, but I could tell it. I could tell it in your responses to me. I could tell it in your social media posts. I could tell it in the pictures you took with Olivia. You could see a difference in that. And so, how it was a beautiful thing to watch it come to life in pictures, and you can't hide that kind of stuff. People think
No.
you can. It's unfortunate that we're conditioned to do that, to hide it, to bury it. You can tell when somebody's in a dark place or a darker place, and then you can tell when they're starting to come out. And it was a beautiful thing to watch you on that, see that light back in your eyes, Jose. So it's a big deal. Big kudos to you, and you do so much. So let's talk about that. You're right. You can't pour from an empty cup. I just talked about this on a show earlier. You have to take care of you, which you've obviously have become centered and focused. I forget what the third word was, but it's all there that Enrique brought up. What projects are you working on? Because the flags behind you, I would love to hear the story about that. I think it's very powerful. I know we've talked about it on the show before, but it's been a while. So tell them a little bit about that.
Sure. So, the flags you see behind me, there's actually a photo right behind me as well. It's my Facebook profile picture, but that's myself there and my best friend Stuart Moore, November 2003. He was killed a month later in Baghdad in operations that we were, to be conducting, and that loss really hurt. And Memorial Day 2020, instead of reaching, for the bottle, I said I want to do something to make my buddy proud, and I made, my first American flag. My best friend Juvenal Aviles, I called him and I said, look, man, can you help me, make something like this? And he said yes. So I went to his house, painted that first red stripe. There was a healing there from some things encountered in the war. And that healing led me to drive 18 hours to his parents' house in Texas, in Livingston, Texas, and deliver two flags I made. And he's buried right on their land there. So I really drove to his graveside with those two flags, presented them to my buddy and his family. I'm very close with his father and his mom. Um, his father said, Jose, don't ever stop making these flags. And I said, sir, how can I when your son lives through each and every one I make? And so that was 2020. And so from there, I fell in love with being able to create the pieces and gifting them to the families of the fallen. Provided an opportunity, for me to become an artist. Expressionism, was born, to be able to release that. So there was a healing not only for me in creating the pieces, but also for the families in that transaction that had, nothing to do with just anything but love and respect. And so the flag here, to my back is going to go to Jose Leal. It's in memory of his son who was killed in combat in Afghanistan. I will reserve the story in the manner in which his life was lost, but it was very traumatic, for his father, and we've become very close over the years. And the silent prayer, and Jose and I have prayed about this, is I'm gonna get to California one day and present that flag to him in his hands. And then here, the flag, behind me is in memory of Specialist At the end, Jules Murphy, U.S. Army Ranger, he was killed in action in Syria, and that's going to be going to his loving mother and father in Georgia. And so these are pieces that I make here, outside, my little, place. Um, I they still hurt to make, because that each one, I think of Stuart um, every time, and the rest of my buddies. But I'm able to create pieces of remembrance and honor for not only the families of those that we lost on the battlefield, but also here at home to the battlefield in our minds to suicide, PTSD, moreover. So the flags I create, are elements of all of us. I encourage, when you look at the pieces to find mistakes I've made because all of us, are imperfect, and that's okay. It's learning to accept that the closest thing that will be to perfect is imperfect because it'll just never, happen. But at the end of the day, that, I stand to create, pieces of remembrance, and it's turned into, something that I'm able to do to support my family, as well, and create projects to build with other veterans as well in the community, have local build nights, right, for families to come out and paint together and create, events of unity and inclusion, which I believe is incredibly important right now.
Beautiful. How can how can people get involved? How can we support what you're doing? Because I think when you did your first flag, it's like, God, that's so unique. And then once you tell the story, of course, you're in love with the entire project and you just want to figure out ways to support it so that you can continue to touch people's lives like you do.
It's
How do we help?
Yeah, it's very easy. I use the pieces as fundraising pieces as well. I was able to help raise some funds for children's cancer with Base Camp last month. And so, if you have events coming up, I would love to collaborate, right? And we can donate 100% of the proceeds to your cause. We can do that. If you wanted to sponsor the material, sponsor a flag to go to a family, can have a lot of fun with this. You just reach out to me directly. Art by Jose Belen at gmail.com, or you can give me a call, 407-212-2745. And I really look to sponsor as many Gold Star flags as we can, into 23. It's really something special for the families because really the way I've just been, in love with social media because it's allowed me to communicate with so many families like the Murphys and say, hey, all I need is your home address. I'll take care of the rest, right? And then that's really what happens here. And so anyone that wants to get involved in that, please do. But I believe in philanthropy. And if I could ever, create something for a cause or for anything, and we can use that piece to raise funds and make 100% of it available to that charity, let's do that. I think it's important, and it speaks in the act of being kind. Right? So shout out to the Hallett Project for echoing that message.
Great. All right, Enrique, any last parting words of wisdom?
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about that last key point that I had mentioned, purpose, and I'm so happy, Jose, that you found that post service, and it looks like it's a heart centered thing, right? So we will do our best to continue to help support you and share your message, share your purpose, and help out as much as we can. Definitely feel in my heart, as you mentioned, those that have been lost, because I also lost some, but also those that choose, to end their life because the weight is just too heavy for them. But thank you for taking on. And yeah, and I was gonna ask about
Yes, tell us about your book.
book.
How can we get it?
It's on Amazon, PG-13 by Jose Belen. I wrote it through a very turbulent time in 2016-17, grammatically. Like, in putting this out, it was like, if it can help one person, God bless it. And the reviews, are one thing, right? But people have written to me, from different arenas that I don't know, and they've let me know they've read it 2-3 times. They take it with them. So thank God it's really doing its thing. It's available on paperback or on Kindle, and Amazon was amazing in allowing me to do a free week, and I'm looking to do that again so I can make it free. But if you do pick up a copy and you do find it useful, please gift it forward to a warrior, to anyone, because that's really why I put it together.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much, Jose. Thank you for always sharing your heart. I think we need to hear it more. We need to support our veterans, because what Jose shared, I'm telling you, the people that you think are the strongest are the ones that need that check-in and need those strong arms around them as often as possible. I thank you both for sharing. I get choked up every time we do a show. Every single time we do a show, and it's just such a beautiful sacrifice that you all have made to serve our country, and I'm very, very thankful. All right, love you both. artbyjosebelen.com, or you can reach out to me and I will get you to him. Triadleadershipsolutions.com. You can reach out to Enrique. God bless you both. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
One thing.
Go ahead. You got it.
Hope, happiness, opportunity, purpose, and empowerment.
I love it.
You got
Word
this.
for 2023. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.